Walker, the New York Post. Molly, go ahead.
Hey, David. I'm curious how you plan to evaluate the team this upcoming season. You've said the playoffs are obviously a goal, but what are other things that you're hoping to see, not to see, and does the abnormality of this season's schedule maybe make you give the team a break or have any influence on your expectations?
Yeah, well, for sure, I think that the unique situation we're all in, with the schedule being so condensed and seeing 7 teams over and over and over again, that might alter your approach a little bit. But it's really see as you go, because this is something we've never really experienced. So I think every team's kind of learning on how they're going to handle these situations. You certainly have to have a good pulse of your team and where they're at mentally and physically, deciding on what you're going to do from day to day. So, obviously our expectations are to make the playoffs. We felt good about the way our regular season ended last year. We certainly didn't feel good about the way the bubble went. And as I've said many times, we have to not ignore what went on in the bubble. We've got to learn from it, because we don't want to take 3 games and paint a whole season with that. So our guys, one of the things that we're always trying to do, and I think every team is trying to do that, you're trying to continue to improve. And whether you're 19 or 29, you can continue to get better. And that's kind of how an organization grows. We've got guys here that have been here for 6 or 7 years that are in their mid-20s that have to continue to get better. Just as much as the Capos and the Lafrenières and the Foxes and guys like that, they have to continue to get better too. So, the object is no different for every player. Everybody's trying to improve. And obviously when you're a younger player, you've got a bigger window to improve, but we need everybody having the same mindset to try to improve individually and collectively.
Next question comes from Laura Albanese with Newsday. Laura, go ahead.
Hey, David. Is Mika ready to go for tomorrow? And if so, do you foresee any minutes restrictions on him?
I haven't talked to our training staff yet. He certainly looked like he was ready to go today, but we'll have a lot clearer picture of what that's going to be. And as far as his minutes goes, that'll just be monitoring during the game. Obviously everybody knows he's had COVID and everybody reacts differently to it. So that's certainly going to be a shift-by-shift decision.
Next question comes from Vince Mercogliano with USA Today Network. Vince, go ahead.
Hey, David. For the first time of many this season, can you tell us who your goalie is going to be tomorrow night?
Yes, it will be Shesterkin.
Next question comes from Mark Roseman, Sports Talk New York. Mark, go ahead.
Hey, Coach. Every season, and you touched on it, brings different challenges, and you guys are all in the same boat. But could you speak to, as a coach, the uncertainty of, not the normal routine? Something's different than the way you've coached so far in the NHL. And granted, you had that experience in the bubble, but just your gut feeling, tomorrow, is it different than seasons in the past for you?
It's a little different for sure, but I think once the games get going, kind of like what happened in the bubble, you're just playing hockey, you're coaching hockey. Things really don't change once the game gets started. I think it's what leads into the game, coming on the ice. Usually you're used to a great electricity in the buildings, and so I think it more so before the game starts as opposed to once the game gets going.
Next question comes from Rick Carpinello with The Athletic. Carpy, go ahead.
David, just to piggyback on that, because of all the uncertainty and the no exhibition games and the long off season, do you know that your team is ready? Can you tell if your team is ready, or is that something you're guessing right up to the puck drop?
We feel really good about where we're at. I really liked our camp. I loved our practice today. There's only so much you're going to be able to cover. As I've touched on before, we were kind of talking about the things we haven't gone over yet, and we all looked at each other. Well, I'm sure every team in the league feels that way too, since most of us have had only 8 practices. So, but the bottom line is our sport is an effort-driven sport, unlike any other, because it's played in such a small space. And effort is going to be the deciding factor in a lot of nights in this situation, just because of the short training camp. You're going to see the same teams over and over again. And there's only so many things that you're going to be able to cover in this point of the season. So we've got to be really good at the things that we had talked about doing, and we've got to make sure we play at a pace and have great effort.
Next question comes from Dan Rosen with NHL.com. Dan, go ahead.
Yeah, David, curious, will you have a captain this season? Will you name one before opening night? Will you have a captain?
As of right now, we have 4 assistant captains. Mika Zibanejad, Chris Kreider, Jacob Trouba, and Artemi Panarin. That was just announced right after practice to the players.
Next question comes from John Giannone with MSG Network. John, go ahead.
David, good day.
Hi, John.
You just said you loved the camp. You don't often hear that word come from a head coach's mouth. What specifically about your training camp did you love so much?
I loved our mental and physical commitment. I mean, these guys were dialed in trying to accomplish the things we were going over. They were paying attention. I loved our pace. Their effort was outstanding, both physically and mentally. A lot of times you get the physical effort, but sometimes mentally guys get a little wayward. So I just like the combination of our focus and our effort physically.